Well, hello everybody. Good to see you again. Sorry about last week, but hey, we're going to give it a second try here tonight. Really glad to see you guys came out. Hello, Carl Edward, or Carl Edwards is with me here tonight, and I just want to say hello to Rob Parks. Thanks for coming out, buddy. Eddie Little Rage, always great to see you in the chat. And we had someone else here earlier, but I think he had to leave. Gregory, are you still around, Gregory? Hope you are. Okay, so yeah, Carl, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, thank you, and I hope everyone else is as well, and you.
Yeah, me too. I've got my fingers and my toes crossed and hoping everything goes well tonight. So I'm glad I'm able to give you a second chance at second kick at the cat, as they say. So
well, I appreciate it.
Let's
Thank
hope
you.
it all goes well tonight, because I'm telling you, I lost my mind last week, boy. But I have to give a huge shout out to Cheesemondo. He sat with me the following morning, and we got it all sorted out. So I think we're good and solid for the rest of the evening. So yeah,
Cheesemondo is amazing.
yeah, he is. He's an awesome guy, and he's always there when I need him. You know, he really is a good friend, and he knows this stuff so well. So he's my go-to guy. If I can't get a hold of him, then I'll get a hold of Taddy. He's also an awesome producer. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So tonight, what we're going to be doing, folks. Yeah, what we're going to be doing, folks, is we're going to be talking to Carl about his computer collection. So we'll just start over from last week, and also if you've got questions you want to ask Carl or myself, all you need to do is let us know. Just tag me in the side chat, and I will certainly try my best to get those things answered for you. So yeah. So Carl, where did we leave? Well, why don't we just start at the beginning? What do you say?
Okay, yes, I think that's a good idea, because I can't remember what I said.
Yeah, well, I do remember that you were talking about your first computer being a Dragon 64, this one here. So
That's
why
right,
don't
yes.
you just pick it up there, and we'll go on through.
Yeah, I think that'll be the easiest. The strange thing about this Dragon computer is that it wasn't a very popular machine in South Africa, and there was only one importer. And I saw this machine in a computer magazine, and I said to my father, I would really like this machine. It wasn't the Dragon 64, it was the Dragon 32. And he actually managed to find somebody in South Africa who was actually bringing them in. And as a surprise, he said, here you go, got the Dragon. And then the guy that was bringing the Dragon 32s in said, oh, he's got a Dragon 64. I can upgrade for free, because I was the first customer.
That's a bonus.
It was absolutely amazing. Obviously very different to what happens these days, but, well, what can I say?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You know, what set this machine apart from many of the others was the keyboard. I mean, if you look at the keyboard, it's actually a very decent looking keyboard. It's
it kind of reminds me of the keyboard that came on the IBM electric typewriters with the ball head.
That's right. Very similar. Very similar.
Yeah.
But it did have a problem. If you typed too quickly, it would drop characters.
Oh yeah.
So instead of typing, now I can't think of a word that you would type, print, you ended up with PRNT. So it took a bit of getting used to. Couldn't type too fast, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah. I suppose for an experienced typer, it would have been one of those nuisances.
Yes, very, very frustrating.
Because you really have to slow yourself down. But
yes,
I noticed, and I remember from last week, the innards of this machine was really quite sparse.
It is. What's amazing is it's fairly powerful for a machine back in the day, but very well laid out. It's clean. It's got everything you need. You see that black cover on the right-hand side? That's a cartridge port cover. The blue rectangle on the left is a printer port, a Centronics printer port. Now, for a home computer to have a printer port, that was pretty amazing. It had a monitor output, so you could actually connect it directly to a monitor, a proper monitor, not just a TV set.
Okay.
So it was very limited, very
kind of
limited.
Like the original VGA ports.
Well, actually, even more primitive. It just basically output two colors, so you ended up with a black and white picture. But it was a very clear picture. So, and besides, this machine could only really display 16 colors at the lowest resolution. At the highest resolution, it only showed 2. And the highest resolution was 256 by 192 pixels.
But still, that was pretty good performance for back in that day. We're talking about the very early days of computers here.
Absolutely, this was in 1983.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that.
Quite a long time ago. What else was?
How long did you have this machine?
I've still got it.
Okay.
So I've had it for a very long time.
Well, yeah, of course, you still have it in your collection.
Yes.
I understand that. But what I meant to say was, how long did you actually have this machine in full-time use before you changed to another machine?
Well, it was 3 years. And then I went to do my national service. And while I was doing that, I picked up the Spectra Video. Now, I think you've got a picture of the Spectra Video.
Yes, I do, actually. Let me just bring that up so people can see what it is. It's a Spectra Video 728.
That's right, yes. Now, what was interesting about this machine is it's what they call MSX. I don't think it's on there. It was called an MSX computer. An MSX was a type of computer that it was a standard format. So, for example, they had a Z80 processor with 64K of memory, a keyboard, and it ran Microsoft Basic.
Cool.
And you could buy them from like Toshiba, from Spectra Video, for example, from a number of different manufacturers. Very, very popular in Japan.
And so basically, Spectra Video, they built the technology, but they licensed it out to different manufacturers worldwide.
Well, actually, they just licensed they didn't even. I don't think it was even a license that you got. That you just had to become part of the MSX group, and then you basically had a license, or obviously you paid for the Microsoft license. But they would then design the motherboard around the specifications. So each manufacturer had their own machine, but built around the specs given to them.
Okay. So this was before the Windows GUI? Were you still running basically DOS?
Well, before. This was in 1987 that I bought this.
Oh yeah, okay. It's well before.
Yeah. Yes. Again, still very, very primitive. I think the resolution was the same, 256 by 192, but you had a few more colors to work with, and you had sprites and audio. So it was very nice. Also, a very, very good keyboard.
Cool. I just want to take a second and say hello to Southern Hemisphere Globehead, a fellow South African, I think. So welcome. Yes. Nice to see you here. And okay. So go ahead, Carl.
What was interesting is I paid 1 month's salary to buy this thing.
Wow.
I can't even remember what exactly how much I paid. It was 170 rand, and my salary was 178 rand.
Oh, wow.
But again, it was what I was interested in. So I spent money on what I was interested in.
Yeah, it's amazing the amount of money you're willing to spend on your hobbies.
Absolutely. And the
Without
thing about
really
this
giving
was
without giving much thought to all your other financial responsibilities, hobbies
Yes.
tend to come to the front. You know?
especially when they're as exciting as this, which
Well, yeah, I mean-
for me was exciting.
I mean, these machines that we're looking at here, these were trailblazers. They were pioneering machines, you know?
Absolutely. And what was amazing about this one was that software written for another MSX computer could be used on this one. So again, the you didn't have to worry that you would never have the software for it.
Mm-hmm.
Dora's here as well, and Clive, and Blue.
Oh, hello, Dora. Nice to see you. Great that you could come. And also, hello, Blue Feather. I just noticed you're here. Nice to see you as well. Thank you for coming.
Stevie B. I'm a deserter.
Okay, now, the next question I have is, after this machine, the next one was the Texas Instruments, wasn't it?
Well, actually, the Texas Instruments belonged to a friend of mine, and he moved to England and said to me, "Do you want this machine?" So I said yes, because I'd already started collecting bits and pieces.
Now, that look, that on the side there, that looks almost like an 8-track.
Well, actually, that's the funny thing. That's the cartridge. You slotted the cartridges in along that bit there, but they were about the same size as an 8-track. Stevie B had one.
Wow.
What was interesting about that is that particular machine has a 16-bit processor.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah, and it was designed by Texas Instruments themselves, but it had lots of problems, so it actually ended up being slower than many other machines.
Okay.
Clive Wells said he had a ZX81. I think I've got a picture of a ZX81 there as well.
Yes, actually, let me bring that up for you, and you can tell us about it. The ZX81, right here.
Now, what happened here is this thing wasn't working, and the guy who owned it said to me, "It's not working. You can have it." He was going to throw it away. So I opened it up, and there was just a capacitor that had gone bad. I replaced it.
Cool.
I'm not good at electronics, so I know very little, but a big bulging capacitor says a lot.
Yeah.
I replaced that, and the thing works perfectly, and it still works to this day.
Wow. Are those flush keys?
Yes, it's one of the most horrible keyboards on earth.
That must be a nightmare to type on them. They must be pretty heavy, because flush keys like that were not really that big back then.
That thing's actually very small, because if you look at that mouse next to it, that's a large mouse. So it's about the size of a little bit bigger than a hand. So it's a very small machine. Hello, Tusk.
Yeah, I think you sent me another picture of it. Yeah, here we go. Let me load this one up. Here we can have another look at it.
Yes. Now, the other thing is, if you look at the keyboard, you notice there's lots of weird symbols and characters all over it.
Yeah.
You couldn't type in, for example, if you wanted to type in print, you couldn't press PRINT. You had to find the word print on the keyboard and push it. Sometimes you had to push like 5 or 6 different keys to get one.
Okay, so you had to use the red shift key and then push the S to print.
Yes. But it was hilarious.
Wow. Well, what about those keys next to it? I don't understand. It's slow and fast. What were their purpose?
what would happen is, okay, that particular machine only has 1 kilobyte of RAM. And that was one of the biggest limitations of those machines. So to make things work faster, you had that slow and fast. Slow would switch off the screen, and then it would run faster. And when you put it back onto fast, you would actually have the screen on the screen. So to get fast, you just couldn't see what was going on. That was quite funny. Unfortunately,
I'd probably be losing my patience because I suffer badly from fat fingers. And even on a full-size keyboard, I'm hitting double keys all the time. It really annoys me. So I'd probably have just a horrible time with that keyboard.
Well, the thing is,
but I did notice a comment from Blue Feather. He says he had a Texas Instruments and a Tandy. Have you ever had a Tandy? Are you familiar with them?
Well, it depends on which Tandy.
I had for a very short time a Tandy TRS-80. I only had it for about a month before it died.
Dor is right. Key presses and screen. The slow command would actually disable the keyboard as well. So you could end up with a locked up machine. And like Clive Wells says, you could get a 16K RAM pack. Now, I had one, but unfortunately, between all my moving, I lost it.
Oh, geez.
But going back to the Tandys, the TRS-80, that was a wonderful machine.
Yeah,
but hellish expensive.
I remember that tape drive there, Rob Parks. I used to have a devil of a time because if you didn't clean the heads regularly like a cassette deck, it would have a hard time reading some of the tapes.
Absolutely. And in fact, it went to the point where people were, you could buy a head azimuth alignment cassette tape. And all it would do is play a note. And when you adjust the head, you get it either would get clearer or go away. Surf's here and Demon Orb. Surf says Carl speaks again.
Yeah, it's amazing how computer technology has evolved, eh? It's really come a long, long way.
What's rather astonishing is computer backups are essentially being made onto giant cassette tapes. It's pretty much the same thing. Although that seems to be dying away with the cloud that's out there. But sorry, but speaking about TRS-80, that Dragon was actually based on the same technology as a TRS-80 color computer.
You know, I heard something about that, but I was never really sure.
It was to the extent where you could actually play 90% of the TRS-80 color games on the Dragon 32 or the Dragon 64. So it's all tied up. That's what's so amazing about the history of all these things. Everything's tied together. And then I think we come to the
go ahead.
The last machine, the Commodore.
The Commodore. Do I have a picture of that? Did you send me one? Well, I'll bring up the collection. It's probably in there.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, there it is.
The dirty box in the front is the Commodore, the one with all the packing tape around it. And what happened there was I picked that up here when I actually moved to Johannesburg, because I always wanted a Commodore 64. They were the most popular home computer back in the day. I think they sold over 8 million units.
Yeah,
so
for
that's
quite a while.
Hectic.
For quite a while in the beginning, they were the cat's meow.
Yes. And I jumped at owning one of those. So I grabbed that.
Yeah, I remember. Well, I borrowed the TRS-80 for about a month just to try it out, and it died on me. But then I enjoyed working with it so much that I went out and bought my own. But instead of a TRS-80, I went out and I got myself an IBM PS2.
Yes.
A 386. I had 1 megabyte of RAM. I had a 40 megabyte hard drive, and it ran on DOS and DOS 3.2. And the first program I ever got that I installed and learned to use was a freebie that came with the machine when I bought it. And that was a DOS version of Quattro Pro. It's a spreadsheet program.
Spreadsheet.
Oh, God, that was archaic, but I had so much fun learning with it. So you can imagine how delighted I was when they finally came out with the first version of Excel with a GUI, with the Windows GUI, which I got again free. I got a free copy of that when I purchased my first copy of Windows 3.11 for workgroups, I think it was.
That was the best of the Windows 3 series.
Yeah, it was expensive back in the day.
Very expensive.
It was very expensive to buy. It took me a long time to save. That's why I missed versions 1 and 2 of Windows. I had to save my money.
I had the misfortune of actually having them. I used to do support on Windows 1 and 2, or 1, 2, and 3 when I lived in Swaziland. When I came to South Africa, I started doing support Windows 3 and OS 2. OS 2 was horrible.
Yeah, I heard that too. But I don't know, when they came out with Windows 3, I had enough money, so I went out and I bought it. I said, I'm gonna give it a try and see what the difference is. Boy, what a difference a GUI makes. It was nice to get away from having to do everything on the command line in DOS.
The funny thing is, I loved Windows, but I still did so much on DOS.
Mm-hmm. I did too. I have
no idea why.
Yeah, I did too. I still used DOS a fair bit because back then, even with the advancements of Windows 3, there was a lot you just could not accomplish without going to the command line because you needed to get to the root of the system. So I did. I still continue to use DOS a fair bit, but it was nice to get away from DOS for the daily tasks, especially things like Excel and Word. To do that in a GUI like Windows is much more comfortable.
Right. And the pointer it changed everything. Being able to point at things, drag things, it just made it so much better.
Yeah. And I thought it was ingenious how they always included Solitaire in the games package for people who needed to practice their mouse skills, their double clicking skills and such.
Yes.
And they still put it in there. Even now with Windows 10, you can still see Solitaire.
Yes, I mean Solitaire is. Well, it's the thing that you test all the new operating systems with.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Exactly. But then there came a time in a young man's life where you grew up and wanted to do bigger and better things, and you moved to this guy.
And that machine there, I actually learned. I went to do a repair course in Botswana, learning how to repair Apple Macintoshes. And I learned how to repair those particular models. And again, that machine right there, I made a terrible mess on that particular machine, and I really damaged it instead of fixing it. Mm-hmm. And instead of killing me, which they should have, they gave me the machine and said, "Well, there you go. You can have that one," which was quite a miracle. Mm-hmm. But I got it working. I eventually got it working. And that's a Mac 512K. Wow. What's interesting is on the inside, it's one of the cases where all the signatures of the Apple people is on the inside.
Oh, really?
It was quite amazing. Wow. So that one's got a history.
Absolutely.
And it's not always the best history, but it's got a history, and it still works, which is a miracle.
That's a keepsake, boy. I'll tell you that could be worth a lot of money on the geek market.
Absolutely. The funny thing is, the older it is, and if it's still working, the more valuable it is. And I just learned something new. You see the Apple logo on the bottom left of the machine?
Yeah, the rainbow.
They're bringing the logo back.
They're bringing the rainbow apple back?
Yes, they're bringing it back.
No.
Which is going to be awesome, because that, to me, was what Apple was.
Holy 1970s, Batman.
Good times, good times.
Yeah, that's...
Sable Eagle says, does it still play Dark Castle? Yes, I've got Dark Castle on a disc, and it's brilliant. My favorite game.
Yeah. Dora Noku says, the multitasker in Windows was a real preemptive one for the DOS subsystem. I can remember running ray tracers and still be able to do some actual work.
That was the amazing thing about what Windows could do for you. In DOS, you were basically limited to what you could see, unless you were running something like oh dear, I've forgotten what it's called. There was something called I can't remember.
QBasic?
But what it could do is no, it was it was something that allowed you to tab between different consoles. So you could have two DOS things running. Desk View. Thank you, Dora. Dora reminded me, Desk View. It wasn't Windows, but it was DOS. But you could switch between things. But I think whatever you switched to, everything in the background went to sleep. So it wasn't the same multitasker that Windows had.
Yeah, Windows, it would stay running in the background, continue working on whatever it is it was running when you switched.
Yes.
Yeah. I was really happy when Windows first came out, when we finally moved to the mouse and the GUI. But I did find that in the early days, Windows kind of made everybody click happy. They were double clicking everything, you know. I mean, there were some times, and even when I was in my DOS window running a command line on something, I'd go for the mouse and try and double click on something, and it wouldn't do anything. It said, "What the heck am I doing? I'm in a DOS window, for God's sake!" So yeah, it did make people click happy, I think.
One of my favorite things when I did support for people was people would minimize the applications. And in Windows 3.1, you ended up with all these little things all over the desk. And instead of clicking on that and opening it, they would start a new instance. And then they would complain that the machines were running out of memory.
Yeah, you couldn't have it use the same window and just update the window with the new contents.
Yes.
Yeah, the program manager, no matter what you chose in the program manager, you were going to get a new window for whatever it was you're selected.
Yes.
And if you had more than 4 or 5 windows open, your system crashed.
Yes.
It happened to me all the time.
And it was something that took a lot to get through to people. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, Dora, don't go back to lurking. We like nerds here. Join in.
Yes.
Come on. Stick around. Clive Wells says, I wrote a multi-threaded system for my ZX Spectrum. I don't think I'm really familiar with that.
The Spectrum was the big brother of the ZX81.
Okay.
It was the keyboard was weird. It had rubber keys. People used to call it the dead man hand keyboard.
Huh.
Okay, just hide the program manager behind the clock. That would happen often.
Oh, wow. Man. Let's see. Who else? Rob Parks, you're right. Nerds are awesome. You hear that, Dora? Rob's got my back. Nerds are awesome, so don't go lurking. Speak up. Yeah. So going back over your history with computers, which is your favorite operating system as we move through the generations?
It's going to sound a little bit strange, but it's none of the older ones. It's Linux or Linux, depending on
Linux.
who you get it to pronounce it. But, and this is where it gets weird, my daily driver is a Windows 10 machine because all of my development is on Windows machines.
Mm-hmm.
But many of our servers run on Linux because it's so stable. At one point, I had a machine that had run for 8 years without being rebooted. It was a database system. 8 years. And the only reason it switched off is because we had to move offices.
Oh, geez.
Yes, and that was the only reason.
Well, kudos to the manufacturer of the power supply for not failing in 8 years.
It was back in the day when machines were still built properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Nowadays, good luck getting your machine to stay running for a year without turning off.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, you mentioned getting a PS2.
Yeah.
The
386
very first machine.
IBM.
Yes, the very first machine I bought when I came to South Africa was an IBM PS2 486. And in fact, I actually wrote a debt collection system on it, which is still running to this day.
Really?
Just upgraded, but
Wow.
pretty much the thing that I wrote back then, which is a miracle because it was written in Microsoft Access to start off with, and then slowly migrated over to, and watch people get sick in the chat now, I migrated it to VB6.
Okay.
And then I migrated it over to VB.net. And I've still got that machine as well.
Wow. Do you have enough room in your house for a bed so you can at least get some sleep?
Well, actually, see, these machines sit
I'm
underneath
picturing
my
a small
blankets.
house in South Africa with wall-to-wall computers.
You'd be right. You'd be 100% right.
Clive Wells says he's running kernel 5.14.
And that's one of the newer ones.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Linux. I've never used Linux, to be honest with you. I've always been Windows.
If you ever do go to Linux, there are a number of what they call distributions or distros. Those are the things that make Linux usable or not. For like ordinary people, there are many that actually mirror what Windows looks like.
Yeah.
Stevie B.
But from what I hear, third-party software that we normally would just go up, buy, install, and use is very limited for Linux.
Well, that was the case a while back, but it's becoming the open source software world is huge and it's growing very, very quickly. So almost everything that you need for day-to-day use, you can get on Linux.
Yeah.
Ubuntu, that's the one. Rapox just mentioned Ubuntu. Ubuntu is that's the one that I recommend to most people. It works. It works really well. It's very slick, and there's many applications available.
Cool. I mean, I'm sure all the big applications like the Adobe suites and the Microsoft Offices and those big packages, I'm sure they write them for Linux as well, don't they?
Well, the ones for Linux are like OpenOffice, LibreOffice, and so on.
Yeah, I'm familiar with
And
those.
as far as like a Photoshop equivalent would be GIMP.
Yeah.
That's very, very powerful.
I have to say though, Carl, and I'm being perfectly honest here, I'm a long-time Microsoft Office user. I love the Office packages. I think they, in my opinion, they are king. Others disagree. I know, but for me, nothing beats the original Microsoft Office. And I do know LibreOffice and OpenOffice. I have used them, and they're pretty damn good. Free alternatives. But
I know exactly what you mean.
WPS Office, oh my God, I hate that thing. It's just a real, how can I say? It's like a cookie cutter rip-off copy of Microsoft Office from China. I just hate that thing.
Well, the thing is, it does feel clumsier than Microsoft Office. It's one of the things that Microsoft has done very, very well. Their Office suite is awesome. Go away, paperclip.
Yeah.
Dr. Osiris.
The cross-application functionality of it is seamless. I mean, every one of their programs, like PowerPoint, Word, and Excel, they all just kind of work together like they're just one program.
Unit. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I love about it.
The thing is that LibreOffice in particular seems to be making huge inroads into. Sorry, I just read John Rapp's comments. His most recent laptop upgrade was from a black one to a silver one.
Way to go there, John Rapp. Awesome. Maybe next you'll get a brown one or something.
Actually, everybody in the chat is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Doc Osiris. Oh, hey, Doc Osiris, you're here. I didn't notice you come in. I'm so sorry. Hello, welcome. Surf is here. Always nice to see Surf. And of course, hello, John Rapp. You know, I'm not going to do the customary John Rapp intro. I think that's getting a little old. What do you think, John? Maybe we should come up with a new one. And of course, yeah. So don't forget, guys. If you have a specific question you want to ask, make sure you just tag me or tag Carl in the side chat, and we'll do our best to get to them right away. Okay.
Not that I could answer.
And Tusk says, I know absolutely FA about old tech and PCs. Well, you know, Tusk, I'm kind of in the same boat you are. I do have a little bit more because I did get started back in the PS2 days, but I really wasn't the computer geek nerd. Everything was computer, like that's all I could see. I still had my life to live, you know. But I do understand how you feel. But hey, you know, it's nice to look back at this old technology and see just how far we've come. Hey, Carl?
Absolutely. And what I enjoy is that I can still look back physically, look at the machines that were important in my life, and actually think about where we're going in the future.
Well, that's just it. I mean,
but I have to say that I'm a little worried about the way Windows is going with Windows 11.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a bit of kerfuffle out there about that, because even if you have a system that you would consider relatively new, like mine is only like 3 years old, I can't upgrade because I don't meet the requirements. I'm left out of the loop. You know?
Yes, and that's insane, utterly insane.
I'm not sure I really like that.
No. And when many businesses have machines that are 5 years older or older and cannot afford to upgrade.
Well, yeah. For me to be able to meet the specs, for me to be able to meet the specs, I'm going to have to upgrade my CPU and my motherboard, which means RAM as well.
That's right.
Which is tantamount to buying a new computer, for God's sakes.
Absolutely. I mean, those particular items are the major cost of your machine.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, the only other piece of the machine that would be costly to replace is my GPU. So that's about the only thing I could carry over. You know, everything else I'd have to change just to get into Windows 11.
For Windows 11, you have to be able to support DirectX 12, which is an even more modern GPU. Madness.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do meet that requirement, but it's the security requirement.
Southern's asked a very good question.
What's that?
Southern Hemisphere's asked a very good question. She says, "Is it better to buy a new computer?" And the crazy thing is that these days, yes, upgrading's gone out the window.
Pretty much, unless you. Well, for most people, I agree. It would probably be easier and cheaper to buy a new machine with the latest and greatest, within your budget. But if you're an owner of a machine that you built yourself from parts from different places, and you built it for a specific task, that doesn't really solve the problem. We're kind of, in order to keep the performance where we want it or need it to be, we have to upgrade rather than just go out and buy a new machine. Because for me, to buy a new machine that's going to do what my current machine does or better, it's going to cost me well over $2,000 from like iBuyPower or that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
That's it. And this is something that I've got a real problem with. And it's one of the reasons why I think many more people are going to move to Linux. It's because being forced to upgrade your machine just because the operating system upgrades, that's mad. That's crazy. And like Dr. Cyrus says, many people can't afford to buy new machines. Yeah. Why should you be forced to upgrade, to upgrade an operating system?
Yeah.
The operating system should be keeping the machine going, not the other way around.
Well, that's exactly my argument. Go ahead.
It's a topsy-turvy world. We shouldn't.
Yeah.
The operating system shouldn't cost as much as the machine. And again, as Clive says, Linux supports all old hardware.
Mm-hmm.
So many people don't have a need for everything that Windows does for you.
Mm-hmm.
Linux will do everything. And Sal, we will get together with the machine, I promise.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I'm looking at probably sticking with Windows 10 until the end of its service life. That'll give me another 5 years before I have no choice.
I can guarantee you within 5 years, Linux will be. You'll be able to switch over to Linux without any problems. And in fact, I can almost guarantee you that Microsoft is going to look at getting Office working on Linux.
Well, I hope so.
You obviously have to pay for it.
Yeah, that would be a big selling point for me, because I really would not want to leave Windows if I have to give up Microsoft Office. I've been a user of that suite for decades. Since version 2, I've been using Microsoft Office. Yeah.
It's one of those things that once it becomes muscle memory. You do everything without thinking about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been using it for so long. I mean, my job relies on that package. As a teacher, there's so many things I need to accomplish, and Microsoft Office just brings it all together so seamlessly, and it makes my life a whole lot easier to prepare my materials and so on. So I don't want to have to really switch to a new Office suite, you know?
Yeah, no, I hear you. it's something that I'm stuck between the two worlds. I love Linux, but I love Windows. I develop in Windows. I can't develop in Linux. So that's the only thing that would hold me back.
Yeah. A Southern Hemisphere globe here, and she says, any machine will do for me. I think that's probably true for a lot of people who really aren't what we call power users.
Yes.
But be careful, because the older the machine gets, the less it's going to be able to run. And, but by the same token, a lot of the big computer shops like Best Buy and Target and all them, they have sometimes some pretty good deals on secondhand computers that were leased by offices like big corporations, So you might be able to pick up a decent secondhand one that'll do more than you needed to do at a substantial savings.
They refurbish them, and they give you a 2-year warranty, I think.
Yeah.
Many of them.
Yeah, and they're much, much cheaper than going out and buying a complete new system, brand new. So that's something to consider.
Oftentimes, big companies upgrade every 2 years. Yeah. Crack the code that's hidden in DOS. Not yet.
There's been so many rumors over the years about hack codes for DOS that make your machine blow up or something like that. I've never come across one.
No, although there was, a while back, there was a way of actually causing a graphics card to explode. It could actually be overdriven, and then it would burn out.
Yeah.
But yes, as far as operating systems themselves, I haven't seen anything real yet. I've seen plenty of viruses, but nothing built into the system to crash it.
Yeah. I mean, I really like Windows 10. I have no problem with it at all. It's stable. It's smooth. I really kind of like it. But I have to say that setting up a network at home with my laptop, another machine, my devices, it's a nightmare. I mean, Windows XP, I can have a home network set up inside 10 minutes. No problem.
I know exactly what you mean. And it's one of the things that Linux is very, very good at. Connectivity is it's on a different level compared to Windows.
Yeah.
With Windows, you can bump your head against simple things, like, for example, shares, a network share. I've still got problems with network shares between Windows 7 machines and Windows 10 machines.
Well,
and we've got
both
people
of my
that use
machines
that.
are Windows 10, my laptop and my desktop. And when I go into the network and I want to share documents between the two machines, I can only share one way, from the laptop to the desktop. I can't go the other way. And I've been trying for almost a year now to figure out why, and I cannot find the answer.
I'm supposed to be, well, I don't do support. I'm a developer, but one of my other hats is a support person, and I keep bumping my head against those kinds of issues. And they're hellish difficult to fix. They're easy to break, but difficult to fix.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it boggles the mind. And then for some reason, they managed to make it a little bit easier for the average person by introducing the home group in Windows 7, and then they ripped it out and turfed it in Windows 10.
Yeah. No, it's a security problem. Really? Why did you give it to us?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, at least the home group gave you some kind of share ability between your machines in your home, like Windows XP did. You know, it was so easy to set up a home network with like up to 10 machines in a heartbeat. It was so dead simple to do. But Windows 10, the hoops you have to go through just to get the network started, and then to start connecting machines to it and sharing, forget it. I gave up.
Sorry, John Raps asked a very interesting question.
Go ahead.
He says Norton versus Kaspersky versus Pfizer.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Well, definitely Kaspersky. That will take out the C. The CVID.
Oh, man. It's unbelievable. You know, to be honest with you, I think companies like McAfee and Antivir and AVG and all of these virus protection software companies, I think the level of paranoia has gone so high, they make your system almost unusable. And I have not had one of those programs on my system for 2 years now. And I have yet to have any trouble with a single virus.
The Windows Defender that comes with Windows 10.
Yeah, that's all I use.
It's improved leaps and bounds over the years. It's not the best, but it just works.
Yeah, the worst of the bunch are McAfee and Norton. Absolute total paranoia-ware.
The one which I really don't like is Bitdefender, because what happened was it offered to protect a folder for me, and then I discovered that it was a resource hog, so I uninstalled it. But while uninstalling, it didn't decide to undo what it had done on that folder. Yeah. And once I uninstalled, I couldn't get access to the folder anymore. Yeah, it was pretty awful.
So you've got these remnants floating around your system forever. You can't get rid of them. Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, what? Oh, it looks like we missed a little bit of a conversation going here. Sable Legal says, oh, yes, subscribe to 20 different services in the correct sequence at 50 quid a month each to be able to apply for a job that pays 1,050 quid a month. That's a losing proposition, I think, Sable Legal.
That summarizes the software industry now. Everything's going around this service, software as a service. So you don't buy anything, you pay and you pay and you pay.
Well, that's just it. You used to be able to go to the store and buy a piece of software. It came in a box you could hold with a booklet, a user manual and everything, and you owned it.
Yes.
You owned it outright forever, and you just can't do that anymore. Everything is going subscriber-based. Now, I don't mind that so much if it's reasonable. Like Microsoft 365, the entire Office suite that I need costs me less than $17 a month. Not even that. I mean, really, it's that cheap. That to me is a reasonable subscription service that guarantees I always have the latest and greatest version of each component. But then on the other hand, you've got other companies like Adobe,
Yes.
goddamn,
we're looking at you, Adobe,
rating thieves. They're charging, like, if you want to have Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, and After Effects, you cannot get just those four. You can get Photoshop and Lightroom, or you can get Photoshop and Illustrator, or you can get Photoshop and Illustrator and Lightroom, or you can get Premiere and After Effects, But if you want only 3 or 4 of them, then you have to buy the whole package. It's like 40 different applications, 36 of which I'm never, ever even going to open, let alone use. And I have to pay $85 a month for that. And I don't even own it. I'm just leasing it.
Yeah, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
That's where everything is going.
And I don't even have that option because here in Vietnam, that is not available at all. The only thing I can subscribe to is the enterprise package at $150 a month. Fuck you, Adobe. Hello, BitTorrent. Here I come.
This is the whole thing that many of these companies don't understand. The ordinary man in the street wants convenience, but not at the risk of having to pay an insane amount of money just for one feature.
Yeah, it gets my goat. It really gets my goat. And if anybody out there in the side chat has an opinion on this, please share it because it gets under my skin. I mean, I would love to subscribe at a reasonable cost to the software I use from the Adobe suite because they are the best in the business when it comes to that. There's no questioning that. But man, they're bleeding me. They bleed you dry for the privilege of borrowing it.
Yes.
That's in fact what you're doing because you don't own a damn thing.
It's if you look at what's happening. Have you heard about the? It's a rumor. I hope it's not true, but Microsoft is looking at offering Windows as a service.
Well, that's basically the trend or the direction they're taking Windows 11. That's basically what's happening. Eventually, Windows 11 is going to become subscriber-based. It's going to be a cloud system. You won't even have an operating system installed on your machine. It'll all be running in the cloud eventually.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, I looked at moving one of our systems over to Azure. And after spending, and I'm not joking about this, 6 hours trying to read through everything, I couldn't work out what I needed. I couldn't work out how much it would cost.
Yeah.
I eventually gave up. I said to the boss, sorry, we're not moving.
Yeah. But eventually, if you don't have Azure running on your system, you won't be able to access anything from Microsoft because that's the direction they're going. And they made that quite clear, I think. And yes, Dora Nobu, I agree, Dora. I won't let it get Keela's goat. That's trouble I don't need. Yeah. Doc Osiris says it winds him up when someone says, why don't you get a subscription to whatever it is? Not everyone has money readily available all the time. And you're absolutely right, Doc. Absolutely right. You miss 1 month's payment and every piece of software you've got is dead in the water. You can't use it until you come up with the money to pay.
Sorry, you have to read what Tusk has written. That is a brilliant. What he says, it's brilliant.
Tusk? Yeah, as your legal representative, I can't recommend that you download a pirate copy of Adobe. However, if you do, I suggest you use Tusk. I suggest you use First Uploads for all of your software needs. Tusk, are you getting kickbacks? That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I like it. So is there software that you use that's moving towards subscription-based, Carwa?
Well, the software I use to do development is already subscription-based.
That's
Visual
right.
Studio. So
that's Microsoft, yeah.
Yes, locked into that. Even though they've got community editions, but those are not designed for business use. So
no,
you can't use that. I'm trying to think of what we use. Office 365. So
yeah.
So we can get emails and Office and all those sort of things. But we've got, I think it's 2 systems that are they use a cloud database in the back end.
Okay.
So not great. And that costs a fortune.
Oh, jeez.
Because what they don't tell you is you don't just pay for the subscription to use the software. You pay for the connectivity, you pay for the data, you pay for the connections. So it's you're going to pay $10, but you'll need $900 to use it.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like what they did with printers, and they still do with printers. You can go to a computer store and buy yourself a color printer, dirt cheap, $50, and you got a great printer with all the features you could ever want. But try paying for the ink when you run out.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, actually, I had an HP scanner printer, and the ink ran out. So I thought, oh, that's okay. I just need to do a scan. Guess what? You have to have ink in the printer to be able to scan. You cannot scan without printer ink. So I threw it away.
Who came up with that bright idea?
It's insane.
Yeah. I remember once. I remember once in the late '90s. I think it was '98 or '99. I bought a Lexmark bubble jet. Cost me $58.95. I remember it clearly. And when that thing ran out of ink, it was a tricolor cartridge. So all three colors were in one cartridge. So if you had plenty of magenta and yellow, but you had no black left, too bad. You had to buy the whole thing. And the price of a cartridge was $50. $8 or $9 less than I spent for the printer.
I just read an article where these people bought the same printer from two different suppliers, and they laser printers, and they measured the amount of toner that was in the cartridge, and then they bought a cartridge, and they weighed that, and there was 3 times as much toner in the cartridge they bought separately. So the printer manufacturers have caught on. Now you buy printers with very little ink.
Yeah. Like my new printer is an Epson. It's an L360, but it has the big tanks for like a continuous ink supply. And to buy a bottle of ink to refill that is not as bad as it used to be with the cartridges, So it is a lot more cost effective. But still, I mean, just think of how all these manufacturers of computer peripherals, how sneaky they are,
All of the things they do, just
exactly.
for money.
Yeah. Doc Osiris says, sell the printer at a loss, sell the ink at a ridiculous markup. I don't know how they still get away with it. And the chips that fool you into buying more super overpriced ink when you don't need it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, like Epson printers, they have a chip in them. If you run the head cleaning cycle 100 times, it stops working. You have to take it in the shop to get repaired. And you know what they do to repair it? They download the Epson printer maintenance software, and they click reset chip. And then they charge you $50 for the service call.
Look what we've done for you.
Oh man, that just gets under my skin, It really does. So, and nowadays it's getting worse. The chip crisis and the shortage of GPUs. Nobody in his right mind should be going out buying a GPU right now, because you're spending.
True, people are being
You're spending 3 times what it's worth.
I always worry that my GPU is going to pack up, but if it does, at least I've got the onboard graphics to carry on with.
Yeah, I'm in the same position. Mind you, I'm gonna lose some resolution, but that's okay. I can still work. But for the things that I'm doing, the videos that I'm create. I need a good GPU for rendering and for all the visual effects I'm starting to experiment with and get into. I mean, without my GPU, I wouldn't be able to do any of that. I would be back to the basics.
And that's one of the things that really is annoying about the chip shortage for GPUs. Mm-hmm. There are many people that will end up being severely impacted.
Yeah.
Just because they need that vital piece of equipment.
Yeah. And it's starting to spill over. It's not just GPUs anymore. A lot of other companies are starting to experience troubles. A lot of car manufacturers need those chips for their vehicle computers, engine management systems and things. And they're starting to feel the pinch too.
Well, this could have a pendulum effect. It could actually force people to start moving away from automated systems. So much for the automatic car. Self-steering cars, gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Doc Osiris says the chips on the ink cartridges makes the computer tell you the ink is almost empty. Yes, I'm aware. I'm aware of what you're saying, Doc Osiris. But the thing, what I was talking about was that the printer itself actually has a chip in it that monitors how many cleaning cycles you go through for your head cleaning, and when that reaches 100, it shuts down your system, and it can only be reset by a licensed repair shop. And I used to have the utility that would do it, so I did it myself. But now the new ones, that utility doesn't work anymore. So when I hit that 100 cleanings, that's it.
They realized that people were doing it.
Yeah, I think so. Because I used to be able to do it myself. I had that printer utility for Epson and almost any kind of printer, really, that would reset that chip to 0. So, yeah.
Madness.
So, Carl, what else gets under your skin? What should we talk about now?
Well, we've spoken about price of software. We've spoken about computers. Mm-hmm. I've run out of everything that I'm usually able to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. But, it's fun when you're talking about something that you really have an interest in, and everybody's sticking around to listen to us. So I guess maybe it's not too bad.
That's a good sign.
Yeah. Does anybody in the side chat have a question you'd like to direct to either one of us, or something you want us to talk about? By all means, you're free to do so. That's what this live stream is all about, just getting together with reason for no reason.
Unless it's the real reason.
It's the real reason. Yeah, exactly. So by all means, whatever you guys want, you just let us know and we'll figure out a way to stick it in there. Pay to eat. Grr. I know, Carl. I know.
that was actually something.
What is the weather like, Carl? Dora would like to know what the weather's like.
It's actually become overcast.
It's overcast.
I wonder what the temperature is now. Temperature is approximately almost. Oh, it's getting cooler. It's only 29.
Well, here in Vietnam, it is currently 25 degrees. We've got about 70% humidity, and it feels like 31. And it is past 10 p.m.
How do you like 70% that, humidity. You could have fish swimming past you.
Yeah. I mean, you can really feel. I can feel my shirt sticking to my skin. And it's 10 o'clock at night, past 10 o'clock at night.
That's not pleasant.
Yeah, no, it's not. Stevie B says it's 17C here and overcast. Where are you, Stevie B?
He's hiding in the UK.
Ooh. Oh, we have a new member in our chat, Mr. Derbutz. hello, everyone. Just
I
tuned
like
in.
that nickname.
Have to go and get some food soon. Well, hello, Durbutts. Welcome. I hope you can stick around for a little while, but if you have to go, you have to go. So get some food in you and come on back if you need to. That's no problem. He asks you, Carl, who would you vote for if you were German?
To be honest, just looking at the candidates, I've forgotten their names, but I was listening to them talk, and I don't think I would vote for any of them.
Well, there you go, Durbutts. There's your answer. None of them.
I know that you can't not vote, but you can not vote, but that's not a good idea. One should always vote. But I don't know. It seems to me that politicians are all cut from the same cloth, and it's not clean.
Well, Dora says that it's 29C in winter. Nice. We have got to go. Have indeed paid to get something to eat. Okay, so you're gonna go grab. Okay, so she'll be back in 20 minutes. All right. See you back here later.
Cheers for
Enjoy
now,
your
Dora.
meal. Tusk says in Scotland it's currently grey and miserable, so no change there. Well, you know, that's Scotland, I guess.
If it wasn't grey, I don't think it would be Scotland.
I don't think it would be the UK anywhere if it wasn't grey for most of the time.
I love what Dr. Osiris has just said. Here in the UK, the sun comes out so rarely that when it does, police get calls about UFOs.
I can believe that. I can believe that. Durbutt says, I maybe voted for the Green Party, maybe because it should be hidden from anyone.
That's a good idea because they're not mainstream. Sometimes that's what's required to upset the status quo.
Yeah, exactly.
Vote for the people that you least expect.
I mean,
actually, we'll be voting next year.
It doesn't seem to matter. Doesn't seem to matter what country you live in or who happens to be up for election in that particular country. No country has got a single one person that's worth voting for.
It's true. It's very, very true.
You know?
I mean, we have votes coming up next month.
And I'm sure that all the candidates are questionable at best.
Exceedingly. Southern Hemisphere has asked, how do I feel about the Boks losing? I'm not going to say anything. I refuse to say anything.
He's taking the fifth. Sorry.
Yes. The tears running down my face, that's got nothing to do with anything.
Tusk says, a woman in Ireland called the cops because she was being followed by a drone. Turned out it was Saturn. That's funny. That's a good one. Thank you, man. That was a good one, Tusk.
That reminds me of that video of a little kid that's scared of her own shadow. I wonder if that's ever happened to some adults. What's that behind me? God. That's your shadow.
I wonder if she was a flurf. That would be funny if she was. Oh man, that was good. I needed that. It was only a couple of months ago, he said. Oh my Lord.
You must have been seriously tense.
That is so funny.
Clive Wells. Would that be crafty?
At least she admits there's something up there.
And it's following her.
Clive says, Tusk, would that be crafty? Ooh, Clive. Ooh. I don't think it would be crafty, but you never know. I don't know. That's all right. We love you, Crafty. If you're out there lurking, we love you big time. So, Tuss says, "Oh, it was Jupiter." I don't think it really matters what planet it was. The fact of the matter is, whatever planet it was, she thought it was a drone. Oh, man. I guess the farmer had never seen it before. There you go. There you go. All right. Okay, so I forgot to mention that Demon Orb is here. It's been here a while. So hello, Demon Orb. So sorry I didn't give you a heads up earlier on. I just trying to focus on the conversation, not really paying attention to the side chat as much as I would like to. So yeah. Well, this has been an absolutely a wonderful discussion. It's quite interesting how far technology has come, particularly in computers. And it seems like every generation, the advancement gets not only greater, but faster.
That's
like
right.
the time it took to go from DOS to Windows versus the time it took to go from Windows 3 to 95 to, each step got quicker and quicker. And now Windows 10 has only been out for what, 3-4 years, 5 years? And we're already looking at Windows 11?
Well, one of the things that I find rather funny is that they said Windows 10 was going to be the last version of Windows.
Yeah. What happened to that? They said Windows 10 was going to be the last one. We're not doing anything more with Windows. And then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, we're going to change it.
Mystique has arrived. Hello, Mystique.
But from the previews I've seen, Windows 11 looks really pretty damn cool, and I'm sure it's going to be a great operating system. But I just don't like the direction they're taking with leaving so many people out of the loop, unable to upgrade without huge expenditure, and then probably eventually ending up being a subscription model. I really don't like that direction. So,
well, as Stevie B says, they're calling it an update.
Yeah.
And it does. It actually looks a lot like Windows 10 with a different skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've used it. I must say it works well.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't come across any problems with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it does change something very important. I keep clicking on the wrong part of the taskbar when I want to click on the start button.
Yeah.
because they moved it.
It's moved to the middle, but there is a setting where you can default it back to the left side. But if
they're taking that away.
If people like that idea of having the taskbar in the middle of the start button and their programs in the center of the taskbar, you don't need to upgrade to Windows 11 to do it. Just download a tiny little utility called Taskbar X, and it'll do it for you. It'll slide it all over to the center of your taskbar. It's very light, runs in the background. So, yeah, absolutely. Let's see, what else do we have? Just think of the subscription fee as a tax, and Microsoft as the new government, landlord, plantation owner, aristocracy, whatever you want to call them. Sable Eagle, I'm starting to get closer and closer to agreeing with you. It's becoming that bad. Everybody's going to a subscription service, and people are just not going to own anything anymore. It's all just going to be pay to use or go hit the road. I don't like that.
Mark Tin makes a very, very good point. He says, as soon as Windows 11 was announced, people started scalping TPMs. And apparently the price of a TPM module just went straight through the roof.
Yeah.
Thankfully, most modern processors have got the TPM built in as firmware.
Yeah.
But still, what about people that have a TPM connection? They can go and buy one, but they can't afford it.
Yeah. Tusks asks, how long before we reach the limits of what the components in a PC can handle, and the progress necessarily slows down and stops? Well, that's just it. I don't think it's ever going to slow down and stop. I think eventually we'll reach a wall where processors just can't do anymore, and everything is going to shift to a whole new kind of computing. Quantum computing. I mean, where that wall is or how long it'll take for us to get there, I really don't know. But at the rate we're going, I don't think it's going to be too long before you actually start seeing quantum computing at some maybe high level, out of our reach for now, but it'll start to come down from there. But yeah, I mean, right now, I think both Intel and AMD are working on the 7-nanometer process. I don't know how much tinier they can get.
I think they're already reaching the point where, damn it, what are they called? Cosmic rays are becoming a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if anybody's ever seen what do they call it? It's you can actually see radiation in a fog chamber. Is it a fog chamber?
Wow.
But you can actually see the stuff that's coming from outer space coming through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's coming through us all the time. Now they're reaching a point where the electronics is going to be affected by that because it's going through everything.
Yeah, well, that's just it. When you get to a miniaturized to such an extent that way, you need the most powerful microscope in the world to see it. It won't take much of cosmic radiation to just fry it, and that's the reason why we haven't been able to go back to the moon. Not because we don't have the ability to build the rockets or send people up there. It's that the new electronics and the new systems we're putting into the ships simply are not up to withstanding cosmic radiation that's everywhere. So shielding has to be upgraded and improved, and it's not that easy. It's not that easy to make that kind of
the trade-offs. The trade-offs.
Well, that's just it. That's why I get so upset with the flurfs and the space deniers are always saying, "Oh, we can't go back to the moon, so therefore we never went in the first place. We had the very big rockets. Then, if we did it back in the '60s, why can't we just take them out of storage and do it again now?" Well, you freaking idiot, you goddamn moron. The computers we're putting in them right now are way more advanced, and they need a lot more shielding and other kind of stuff to be able to work. And the old shit just don't cut it anymore.
And besides, who wants to use something from the 1950s?
Well, yeah.
In the modern era.
Yeah, it's not like Chevy's still building the Bel Air. Come on, give it a break.
Actually, see, Clive Wells and Daryl Frost make a good point that it's moving away from single processing now to multiple processes.
Yeah, multi-threading, absolutely, and the wafers are getting thinner. The soldering terminals on the PCs are getting much smaller. I mean, you can only take miniaturization so far. And I think we're getting really close to reaching that limit right now.
It will be interesting to see what comes next. Hopefully I'll be around. Hopefully we'll all be around when it does.
Yeah. It would be cool to see. I mean, we can't stop it from happening. It's going to get done. Computers they have to make that leap to get out of the physical CPU chip and find a new way of controlling or managing the system. It has to go that way. I mean, I don't know. You might think I'm crazy, but I can't see computers coming with an Intel CPU or an AMD CPU chip in them within 10 years from now. I think they'll be phased out. We'll have a whole new technology, I think, where the chip actually becomes part of the circuitry on the motherboard.
Well, if you look at ARM processors, they're making huge inroads, and you can have multiple ARM processors. So definitely be interesting to see that part of it come up.
Yeah.
It'd be rather funny if all of our processing is done via somebody else's cell phone.
Yeah, or your own for that matter. I mean, let's face it, these things are way more powerful than what you and I had on our desk 10 years ago.
Well, the hilarious thing is, if I look at my old 6809 processor running at 0.9 hertz, and compare that to what my current phone is running, which I have no idea.
Yeah.
I could probably fit like 5,000 Dragon 64s inside this thing.
Probably. I mean, the entire amount of my data on my PS2 or my IBM PS2 386 wouldn't even wake this thing up. You know, it's. I think the screen clock probably uses up more power than my 386 had. You know.
Well, the graphics on my phone far outweigh some of the computers I've still got hanging around.
Yeah. Why does my phone need any software? He took that one back pretty quick.
That was quick.
Ooh. You know, we got something for everybody here.
Sable Eagles brought up a very good point.
Imagine sitting at home and getting a pop-up saying, please don't shut down or disconnect. We're using your GPU to calculate an orbit adjustment for one of our shuttles. Oh, Lord. You know, I can see the day where that might just happen. Everybody's phone in their pocket's going to be participating in some NASA mission, you know? That would be an amazing amount of power available, though. Just imagine the computing power of 100 million cell phones of current design.
World problems.
Holy mackerel, that's massive amounts of computer power. And if each user, each cell phone in America or North America gave up 1% of its computing power permanently piped through to NASA, just imagine what their computers could do with that.
I've forgotten words. Let me try again. One of the things that would be incredible is protein folding, because they use that to come up with new solutions to medical problems.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if they used some of the time, cell phone time, to do that? It would be incredible.
John Rapp asks, why does my phone need an octo-core? I would answer that if I knew what the hell an octo-core was. Do you know, Carl?
8-core processor.
Ah, okay, there you go. I've never heard it called that before.
It's often, like, for example, the 6s are hectocores. No, wait. 6s are not hectocores.
Yeah, see, I'm not really up on all the geek terminology for computer hardware. Sorry to say. But, you know, I brought you on so I can learn from the best.
Hexacore. Hectacore would be 7. Hexacore is 6. I think.
Okay, all right.
Somebody help me.
Daryl Frost, software creep. Oh, who's a software creep? Me? Mark Tin, yep, folding at home is a good thing.
See, that's the thing, that folding at home, if that could use some of the time off all the cell phones, it would be incredible.
Kind of like what they did back in the late, it was the late 90s, I think, where
SETI at home.
Yeah, SETI at home. People
that was amazing.
Yeah, they would set that up as a screensaver, and when they weren't using their computer, that would load up and help crunch numbers for SETI. I thought that was a fantastic idea. Is that still running?
I think they stopped it a while back, but I do know that folding at home is still running. So that's if anybody's got spare computer time, folding at home is a great place to lend it to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a link for it though.
Folding at home. I've never really heard of that before, to be honest with you. Okay, well, we'll see if we can find a link for that. So, So, is there anything else you'd like to talk about there, Carl?
I think I've bored everybody, and I've run out of voice. I found the Folding at Home website. I've just posted a link.
Okay, yeah, I just found it myself, so I'm going to pop that link in the side chat, and we'll get that going. So here it comes, folks. Folding at Home. Yes, go check that out if you've got spare hardware or spare computer time where the system is idle. I'm sure they could use that computing power to accomplish their goals. So I'm going to have to look into that more myself as well. Well, I don't really have very much else I want to bring up unless you do. I don't see many questions left in the chat for us.
Actually, I would like to say something. I'd like to thank everybody in the chat, because I interact with almost everybody there on a daily basis, and they're all amazing people. And I'd like to thank you for having me back on.
Oh, it's a great pleasure. I mean, I felt so bad about what happened last week. I said, I have to give this guy a second chance because I knew it would be a very interesting conversation. I'm really, really glad I did it. I really am.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we're going to have you on again soon, I'm sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think though, folks, next week there's a chance that we might have Cheesemondo on with us. So that should be for a good stream. And Rob Parks, if you're still out there, I'd love to get you on. I had the pleasure of being on a stream with Rob a couple of weeks back. Actually last week, I think it was. I really enjoyed that. It was such a great time sitting there talking to Rob. So, Rob, if you're still out there, get in touch, and we'll try and get you on here so I can return the favor. As well, everyone in the chat, it's always it's so good to see you all. I mean, Doc Osiris, it's great that you come out. Tusk, always wonderful to see you, mate. Little Eddie, who doesn't like little Eddie Little Rage? She's so cool. A little bit quiet today though. But John Rapp, you're always welcome here. Always great to see you. Daryl Frost, of course. Let's see, did I miss anybody? I think I got most everybody. Clive Wells, absolutely. I like Clive. Clive is funny and smart as fuck.
Absolutely. You know? One of the best people to interact with about anything. Yeah. So Clive, maybe we can hook up some time and arrange a time for you to come on as well. I would love to have a conversation with you on one of my streams. So let's see if we can make that happen. And any of you out there in the side chat, if you have something you want to talk about, something you think is important or that you'd like to share or spread, by all means, DM me. I'm on my Discord. I've kind of
combine the Steaming Cup of Reason and the Pain of Progress into one Discord server. So by all means, direct message me or post there in the general chat for The Real Reason. And we'll find a way to make some time and get you guys on. So, but for now, I think I've run out of things to ask Carl about. Carl's run out of things to say. So I think we'll call it here. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Please don't forget, if you haven't already, I would appreciate it if you'd remember to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications, okay? And of course, if you want to support the channel, I've got my Patreon link in the description. So thank you for coming out, everybody. It was great seeing you all again, and we'll do this again next week, okay? So say goodbye, Carl.
Goodbye, Carl. Goodbye, Jeff. Goodbye, everybody.
Cheers, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Cheers.